we have Yvonne here. We're going to go over CTE, how to get it set up and how to best use it, as well as what your coach might be looking for on the back end to be successful.
Hey, Jennifer. So thanks for having me today. And so CTE, Commitment to Excellence, is a product I found several years back. And Calvin Morgan, the owner and founder, is brilliant. And he's super quick on responding when you need changes or help with anything. So I highly recommend the product. And from a coach's perspective, it really does help me hold people more accountable and help them get a better handle on their numbers, their business intelligence, and the math behind the sales and marketing of what you're doing. So I'm going to dive right in and just show you first off, a blank copy of a 2023 version. And so this is the business plan when it comes to us for the new year, or this is the CTE when it comes to us for the new year. So the very first thing you do is you call up, and by the way, the reason I love it too is it's a super inexpensive product. I think it's somewhere around the $30 mark per month. Now, the very first thing I tell people is you do not need to be in every team member is in it. So you don't need seats for every team member. Okay. What you do need is you need an operations person. And if you're the team lead, yourself. So minimum 2 people should be accessing this and keeping it current. All right. That's number one. First off, we ask them to get the 2023 version, and there is a business plan version. Okay. So it's super simple. Everything that needs to be filled in on the business plan tab, that's where we go first. We hit the business plan tab. We're going to build out whatever business plan numbers that you chose to for your team. So in this case, they are a small SEAL team. Their goal is to do 80 transactions. We do just a team version, but no override on that. And then we do estimated tax of approximately 30%, depending on what market you're in and how you do your taxes. That's about the general across the country. Whatever your broker split is, if there is a broker cap, this product was built for Keller Williams. So it did get built originally with those caps like Keller Williams has. And now many of the other franchises do have that. Anniversary months, whatever that might be, if there's any royalties. So if you're with a Coldwell Banker, Berkshire Hathaway, anything like that, you're going to have a royalty split. So that would go in here. And if they cap you on your royalty, then you plug in your team members. So basically you're going to put your team leader, if they're still in production, goes right here on line number 1. How many deals does that team leader want to do in 2023? What's the average sales price? What's the average commissions on listing and buy side? Once you plug this in, it calculates everything else. What's great about this is if you want to know how many conversations you need to have a day, it'll tell you right here. You plug in all these numbers, and to do 38 closings, all listing side, if your percentage of close ratio to taking of listings is 80%, if your appointments set to appointments gotten or signed are 75 to 80%, you need to talk to 15 contacts a day. So it gives every team member how many conversations they have to have a day, and it builds it in right here. So that's the business plan in a nutshell. And this is the very first thing we do. Whether you're starting in the middle of the year or you're starting in October, we start with the business plan of that year's CTE program. From there, then it's a matter of you have the ability to see their dashboard. So the dashboard is one of the main things that I look at almost every week on our coaching calls. I will open up CTE for every client and I will look at the dashboard. It'll show what's going on: closed units, volume, and GCI, pending units, volume, GCI, and active listings, volume, and GCI. I don't use the active buyer segment. I think it's a waste of time to put buyer leads that you might be working and showing properties to, because everybody I coach works inside a Follow Up Boss or a Boomtown or some CRM where we're tracking those anyway. So those have really great tracking backends. So I don't need to fill this up with active buyers that may or may not go under contract. So I don't work with that. Once you see the dashboard of one that's been filled out, so this is a 2021 version of one of my clients, you can see it showed how many closed units, how many pending they went into in 2022, how many active listings. We also, from this dashboard, I can see cost of sales and expenses if the agent, the team lead, is plugging those things in. And I'll show you that in a minute. This is really important. It's your graph. So it's going to show you on a roller coaster ride. You set the goals in the business plan. It does the seasonality for you. You can change seasonality if you have a market that you do, like Palm Desert, California, might close more deals in November, December, January, February, March, because that's season for them. So their seasonality will be higher, and then in the summer it'll dip down. So you can change that however you'd like in here. But I can see that this was 2021, so this was a little bit of a roller coaster. And when we picked up on that and said, hey, everybody needs to go back to making calls on the team, guess what they did? In September, October, they started making calls, and look at how big their November and December closing months were. And then they rolled right into having great closings in January, February of 2022. So this was 2021's numbers. Down here, it's got a lot of thermometers. It tells you if you're off on your goals. So it gives you different ways of looking at the numbers depending on what your eye likes to see. So that's that. It also gives you your whiteboards. So you've got new listings, upcoming closings. So it's your whiteboard and determining what exactly is going on. And then you can also mirror these from onto a big screen in your office. So if you want this to show to your office staff and agents, you can mirror this up into there. It also has a competition board, and I'll show you that shortly. So that's just all on the home dashboard. And then daily, your ops person is in here putting actives, closed, pendings. So making sure that everything is getting put in. So you just plug it in across the line. One of the things that I look at is I need to make sure that the agents are plugging in the correct person on the member split number one. Member split number one is going to be the lead agent on that deal. So just because the team lead is in production doesn't make them the member number one on every deal. In this case, Rebecca is a in production team lead. However, Amanda is a buyer's agent. Tracy's a buyer's agent. We're going to see their names as the lead agent on the deal they put under contract. You'll also see that possibly there is another agent over here. Now, why did they choose to put him in member 4? I don't know. That's just their choice. I would have put it in split number 2, right? So member split number 2, if there's an agent, Rebecca's a team lead, she's 100% because the money's going into her pocket. Tracy's a buyer's agent at 50-50 split. She's going to show 50%. I don't have to put Rebecca over here for the other 50 because in the business plan, the other 50% is going into the company. Program's already built like that. But if, let's say, Tracy is going to work and get 25% of this deal, Rebecca, I know, has a deal where if you bring a sphere of influence listing to the team, Rebecca's the lead listing agent, she pays a 25% referral to that buyer's agent who brought the deal in, even though she's the main agent. So that's where you're going to put member split number 2. Or if you have an admin, the admin might get $500 bonus on a deal. You'll put them in member number 2, and then you'll put $500 in. By the way, on the business plan, I may not have mentioned this, but you should have admins listed on here as well. Okay, I have to always remind my clients, don't just put the salespeople in here. Admin would go in here too. So if I put Yvonne Arnold and I am the admin, it's going to not put no totals because it's not going to affect my numbers. But at least when I go in here to my business and I want to give my admin a bonus, I'll be in the drop down menu as the admin, and then they can give me a $500 bonus. So that's how that works. Okay, so that's the My Business tab. That's the other important tab. People go, well, how do you hold your agents accountable? Well, agent scorecards. When we do this, it's the hardest thing that we do is getting the agents to plug their numbers in. Everybody bitches about it. Everybody has struggles with their teams about it. It's super simple. And it's why they might go to a different product to be unnamed, because they go, oh, this feeds automatically from your Follow Up Boss and your Boomtown. However, I've been in those products and I've had clients who use those products. The data is not accurate. They're saying a conversation is based on the length of time you're on the phone because it's recording the length of time on the call. That doesn't mean you talk to anybody. Maybe, some kid answered the phone, right? So in reality, it's really not accurate data. What we look at is this link right here that CTE gives you in the form. okay, the lead gen entry form. So that's a tab right here. And this is the spreadsheet that it dumps it in. It's a Google form. So if anybody who's ever used a Google form knows it, any information you put in dumps it into a spreadsheet. Well, they just built it into CTE. The form is super easy. And basically the key to this is that you should have them help you, have CTE help you put the actual categories you're definitely going to want. And so that it doesn't confuse the agents as to what they're supposed to be putting in, right? And of course, I picked one that's not working. So
I didn't because it's old, maybe because it's a 21.
it is, it's old. Okay. So it's a Google form and ask the questions. Let's leave it at that. It's going to be the main ones that I look for. The key performance indicators, the leading indicators is going to be how many hours of prospecting. And then also conversations or contacts. How many people did I actually have a two-way conversation with at that day? Whether it's a text that's two-way, an email that's two-way, or a phone call that's two-way. If you send out a bunch of texts and you don't get responses back, that is not a conversation. We do hours of power, we call them that in Tom Ferry, or prospecting hours, number of conversations had or contacts, how many listing appointments set, listing appointments held, listing contracts signed, buyer appointments set, buyer appointments held, buyer reps contract signed, if you're having buyer reps signed, and then number of written offers. Those are the primary leading indicators that I look at as a coach. You can have all other kinds of things in there you want, but those are the ones that I'm going to track because those are also the ones that are going to show up on a scorecard. The agent scorecard is going to look like this. First off, every agent that is in your business plan is going to show in the drop-down menu. I'm going to be able to see each individual agent on the team, how many deals that agent has closed, their volume, their split to them after the split with the team and the brokerage, 11 pendings, and if they have any active signs. Okay. I can also see just from the scorecard, if you're putting in the correct source under the My Business tab, that how many deals came from Zillow, past client referral, Google, builders, past client sphere, Boomtown. I'll be able to tell what conversion rate that agent has on the team. This one does a lot of Zillow leads, so it's great. So then they're plugging their numbers in, and I'm looking for a minimum KPI, minimum standard of 20 hours of prospecting a month. If an agent does 20 hours a month, that's 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, that's 20 hours a month, and they hit between 150 to 200 conversations a month, we know they're going to probably hit 24 closed transactions. Now, that number of conversations will change depending on how warm the leads are that they're getting. So if they're doing all online leads, cold leads, they're probably going to have to hit the more 200 conversations. Yeah. If they got warmer leads, then they're closer to 100 to 150. So you can see this person closed 25 deals and they were averaging right around 120 conversations a month. They're really good at tracking. So we know she's hitting about 5 conversations an hour. We also know that she's setting appointments, holding appointments, and they're 100% buyer's agent. Now, what I look for as a coach, so if it's coachable moment, first thing I'm looking at is, are you getting enough hours in? If they're not, then we know we have to coach them up on getting on the phones more often. If they're talking to more people, if they're not talking to enough, then we're going to know how much success they're having. If they're down here in the 53 range, they're not going to close enough deals. I've got to get them talking to more people. Then we get to the appointments. If they're setting a lot of appointments and they're holding a lot of appointments, but they're not writing any offers, then I know they have a problem closing for a contract. So I'm going to work with them on scripts and dialogues and how to move somebody from seeing houses to buying a house. If they're writing a bunch of offers like we did in 2021, but they're not getting offers accepted, then I know they're having to write 13 offers to get 6 deals. So now we're going to help them figure out, hey, is the team lead working with them? Is the listing coordinator, transaction coordinator working with them on submitting offers? And are they submitting offers to the listing agent correctly? Are they sending a video saying, hey, this is who I am. Here's what my clients are like. They're really well qualified. Are they writing clean offers or are they writing lowball offers, right? So that tells us a lot. So I always say that I'm a numbers whisperer when we start seeing these numbers because they'll tell us where their gaps are. And then I can coach them up from there. And then it gives you all of the data per agent. That's how I specifically use it as a coach. And then from a higher level, from the team lead level, I want to know what their money's doing, right? So if I'm looking at this, I'm like, hey, I need you to put your expenses in every month. How do I tell them to do that? Super easy. They get a copy of their credit card and bank statements printed out on paper, and they get a highlighter pen, and they go through and highlight everything that month that is a business expense. And then they plug it in line item. Okay. Now, Boomtown, Zillow.com, HomeBot, BombBomb, RealVolve, Call Action, Mojo Dialer. I want to know specifically. And I always tell people, this is not to be used like your CPA does your QuickBooks. It's not to be used for IRS purposes. This is strictly for us to know where we're moving money to make sure we're getting the max out of your return on investment, right? Mm-hmm. And so you know what your overhead expenses are, you know what your salaries are, and then you know what percentage is marketing and lead gen. If you're getting all of this get in there and the data is here and the salaries are in there, I can start seeing where are we at. Well, this little number right here is what I look at, expenses percentage of GCI. I want to make sure my clients are keeping this under 30%. That's just the magic number. And then of that 30%, we can go in and then calculate how much of that is marketing. And we want to keep that under 15%. If you're spending more than 15 or 30% of your overall GCI on this overhead and marketing, then we have a problem, Houston. Okay. Yeah. Your profit is not going to be there. And then the reason we want to know like Zillow.com or Soul.com or something that is generating actual lead gen, we want to tie it to the lead source, because then we can look at lead sources here. And I can go, okay, how much was spent on that? Now, once you go into the new year, it doesn't show it, but in the normal, when it's during that year, we're going to see, okay, so Zillow cost them X number of dollars, and we'll see that return on investment. So you'll be able to know what your leads per amount per lead is and that kind of thing. That is the basis of what I look for in CTE, because this top part, income and cost of sales, automatically feeds. When you're putting your stuff into the My Business tab and you've done your business plan calculations, right? This all feeds correctly. So I know how much was paid to the broker. I know how much was paid to the buyer's agents on their splits. And then I know what the overall top line gross was.
Okay. So we went over entering in the expenses. So if I'm looking on the admin side, we've gone over the expense thing, which is pretty self-explanatory in my opinion. Even the My Business tab's pretty self-explanatory, but have you seen things get entered incorrectly, or, ops or admins have issues with entering stuff that then skews the numbers that you could give some quick tips on?
Yeah. The very first thing that they make the incorrect calculations on is their broker split and the royalty cap or royalty fees. I don't understand why this is an issue, but it seems to be an issue. When you build out that business plan, it has in there, what is the split? Now, remember, as a team lead who's got a team, I have a split with my broker. Now, could my team member split with the broker be different? Yes, but the team members also have a split with me. Okay, I'm going to put my split in there. However, if my team members are not covered under my split, so if I got to deal with my broker as 80-20 and 20% off of every deal that comes into the team is going to the broker, okay, after the franchise fee of 5, 6, 8%. I've got to put the franchise fee on there first, because that comes off the full gross top. Mm-hmm. And then the broker gets their 20%. And then I have a contract with my agents and my team at 50-50 or whatever that is. So now when I plug in the line where I'm putting the deal in, it's going to automatically calculate. You put the gross commission in. And when you say, okay, Yvonne Arnold, team lead, gets 100%, it's automatically going to take my franchise fee off the top and the 20% to the broker. And then I will know how much I'm getting. Mm-hmm. It automatically calculates it, okay, because of the business plan. Now I have a team member. They are on 50-50 with me. They put a new buyer under contract and close it. it's automatically going to take the 5% off the top, the 20% to the broker, and I put 50% next to that agent's name as the lead agent on that deal. I'm going to get 50% after the top lines come off. Now, if my team member has a different split with the broker, that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
That's where you don't try and overthink the program. Okay. That's when you reach out to Calvin Mergen at CTE and you go, hey, here's the setup I have. Team members pay the broker 20%. They're on an 80-20 after the 5% franchise. I'm on a 95-5. So it's 5% off of mine, but it's 20% off the agents. And then the agents are going to give me 50%. How are we going to calculate this? Can you factor that in and tell me how to line item each deal?
Yeah.
And they go, no problem. And they go in and create the formulas and calculate it. And so all you have to do is put the agent's name on there and the split they have with you. And it's going to calculate everything else. And then when it does that, it's going to show in here, cost of sales, split to office, royalty paid. This numbers over here are going to be taking out that 5 or 6 or 8% to the royalty, taking out the 5% and the 20% to the broker, and then everything else is split however you're splitting. But you have to ask the company to build the formula. Don't try and calculate it. I see too many agents go, and their ops people go like this, that deal, and I'm going to figure out the split, and I'm going to put that number in here. It's like, you just now have screwed up the whole calculation override.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the key.
Super helpful. I think that's really, really helpful for admins and team leads to kind of look at CTE. And it's so important to understand what you as a coach is looking for too, because like they're looking at something totally different sometimes than you are. So they're both like, wait, what does this tab do? What does this number do? Why is it important? So
literally CTE was built with realtors in mind, and they have locked down most of the formulas. Like you can't really screw it up. Although I have had clients screw up the program, and then we just have to go over to Calvin's team and go, hey, can you fix this? And he goes in there behind the scenes and does a couple things and then fixes it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Yvonne, for spending some time just sharing with us and helping admins and team leads work on CTE. Talk to you again soon.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jennifer.
Bye.